Good evening. My name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. I'm accompanied tonight by William and Charlie. William, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm William Appel. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly.
I'm Charlie White. I'm with the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, also from Portland, Oregon. So I'm going to start with a prayer. Dear beloved Creator of all that is and ever will be, we are grateful for being here together. While many are unaware that humanity is in a war with vile evil for our very continuance on this plane of existence, many of us are keenly aware that this is the ultimate battle, good versus evil. All biblical references apply to this current battleground on planet Earth, and above in our heavens, and below in the hideous depths, the underground hellhole caverns, where detestable things done are being dealt with at great loss of human life. Many of us who know the significance of the battle, and some of the many, are gathered here in this moment. Let us choose, decide, and acknowledge to the world that we will no longer allow others to divide us, either superficially or artificially, with stories that one's skin color differing from the other's has significance, that older people are not as contributive or valuable as youth, that one party line is the be-all, end-all to the truth, when there really are none of these divisions but in our minds, when speaking of humankind. What we are dealing with, whether acknowledged by the most, is humankind versus unhuman. I say not inhuman, but unhuman. Let that lie there for you all to interpret or accept as you may or may not. What is true is that when we embrace one another as Creator's children, young, old, male, female, skin color, no matter, cultural lines crossed, unable, capable, intelligent, not, healthy, unhealthy, vulnerable, strong. That is when we embrace one another fully, united as family of humankind, all children of our Creator, and with not only acceptance, but with love in our hearts, then we will have won the current battle. Never in existence has it been so desperate that we win, and win we shall. No longer will we fall for lies, untruths, connivances, and deceptions that have brought us to this ultimate battlefield. Also made necessary by our Creator to show us the depths of evil that we declare no more. For above all, we are here to protect our children, all God's children, from the ogres. And so, beloved Creator, we humbly appeal to you with all the urgency of the moment that is the be-all, end-all, that you shower us with your grace, direct us with your divine wisdom and intention, infuse our spirits with determined will to serve you and all of your children everywhere on planet Earth the very best way possible. Beloved Creator, we join one another in harmony to declare that we are here in service to you, knowing you will take care of the remaining restoration of your sacred creation. And so it is.
Amen.
So we want to talk about the importance of jurisdiction. It's something that doesn't really resonate in our day-to-day conversations as we're out in the world. And as we look at more of our intention to exclaim ourselves as sovereigns, as free men and women walking on the earth, we have to recognize that there are different jurisdictions. The prayer that was just read is natural law. It is appeal to our Creator, who has created a situation in natural law that's inviolable. It pertains to everyone, every entity, every living thing in all of creation. and it is certain, it has certain consequences, and it's inviolable. These are the laws of the universe. That is the greatest jurisdiction of all. The jurisdiction that we're fighting to return to or restore is the law of the land, which is common law. It's the law of humanity on the land. So other names that common law can be referred to as law of the land, law of the people, law of common man, flesh and blood people, de jure, which is a reference that you might hear often, which means existing by right. And because we come from our Almighty Creator, we are granted unalienable or unalienable rights. So this is the law that we're trying to restore here on Oregon and to encourage others to form their assemblies and to direct their attention to the difference of these jurisdictions so that it becomes clear who they answer to and who the people who are establishing laws and rules over humanity recognize that we are living. We are living beings on the land. The third jurisdiction primarily is admiralty law, otherwise known as maritime law, law of the sea, commercial law, law of commerce and trade, corporate law, color of law, and the reference to de jure in common law, de facto in admiralty law. So de facto in the common law, in the Black's Law Dictionary, is in point of fact, even though not formally or legally recognized. This is the law form we have had and have in operation since 1861, when our United States Constitution was ignored and then changed, and changing ongoingly as color of law. Also, the law form of the American Bar Association and attorneys in courtrooms that call us persons or citizens. The 14th Amendment granted corporations personhood. The United States of America Corporation is a dead entity. The last two law forms are different jurisdictions with two different court systems, and the words they use and the words we matter, and the words we use matter significantly. So take it from there on.
All right. Thank you, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
You stole some of my thunder, but that's okay.
Oh, no.
Okay, this is what I'm thinking. We're functioning in the de facto. Look it up. Read all the definitions. De facto Black's Law, 6th edition, page 416. You need to stop that and expatriate to the de jure. Black's Law, page 6th edition, page 425. The Oregon Watchdog says that we, the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, and our grand jury and what we're doing is not big enough to report on. But they report on Ammon Bundy being arrested in a totally biased Associated Press story. Ammon operates in the de facto. I was cautioned about what I was going to say because it sounded like gossip, and it's not gossip. I talked to Ammon Bundy last week on the telephone. I talked to his brother Ryan on the telephone. I talked to their dad Cliven on the telephone. This is not gossip. Ammon operates in the de facto. If you just saw him and the trouble he was in, he was waiting outside to go inside to a de facto court where there's no way in hell a man can win or get remedy because it's unlawful. And I'm going to read the rest of that right now. De facto, in fact, indeed, actually, this phrase is used to characterize an officer, a government, a past action, or a state of affairs which must be accepted for all practical purposes, but is illegal and illegitimate. That's what they're doing to us since 1861. When you read these things, you got to read all the way through. You can't just read the first part. Thus, an office, position, or status existing under a claim or color of right, such as de facto corporation, the United States, Inc. In this sense, it is the contrary to de jure, which means rightful, legitimate, just, or constitutional. Thus, an officer, king, or government de facto is one who is in actual possession of the office of supreme power, but by usurpation or without lawful title, while an officer, king, or governor de jure is one who has just claim and rightful title to the office or power, but has never had plenary possession of it, or is not in actual possession. That's what they did. The de facto, in the name of the administration of Abraham Lincoln in 1861, flipped this into martial law. Now I'm going to read you a little bit about de jure. De facto's this long in the dictionary, Black's Law, and de jure gets about this much. De jure, deceptive of a condition in which there has been a total compliance with all requirements of law, of right, legitimate, lawful, by right, and just title. In this sense, it is contrary to de facto. It may also be contrasted to de gratia, in which case it means as a matter of right, while de gratia means by grace or favor. Again, it may be contrasted to de equite, here meaning by law, as the latter means by equity. So they arrested the guys out in Eastern Oregon and they killed Lavoy Finicum in de facto. They brought him to Portland and tried him in a de facto court. And one of the greatest things in the world happened. The jury turned him loose. The only time we win in de facto is when it's better for them for us to win than lose, or it's better for them to dismiss the case and not have a trial at all. That's what they did to the Bundys down in Las Vegas. Rather than to have all the dirty stuff come out, they just find a reason and dismiss it. So then, if you know that there's two different law forms, it would behoove you to get your status correct as a man or a woman, and only you can do it. And it's not difficult. You have to recognize it, and you have to get it done. Paperwork has to be done. And the enemy, the people in de facto, they have to be notified of who you are, and you have to be able to prove your statement. You just can't say, I'm a man. I was tried in Beaverton, and the judge looked at me, and he said, in my courtroom, I make the law. And he looked at me, and he said, you're a person, and I'm going to try you as a person. And he did. And I did 20 days. And that's just the way it is. You don't want to be in their court. So we've gone to the trouble on Oregon to do everything we can think of to be in the de jure. We founded our own court. Read the book, find out what you have to do, fulfill all the requirements. We have a court. It's a civilian court. It's not tied to any government or governance. We take no income from anybody, and we are nobody's slave. We're a free man and free woman court, a civilian court. That court, by ex parte Milligan, does away with martial law. The de facto has to pay attention to their own laws. They don't always do it, they break them all the time. But if you hold them to it, you can frequently make them abide by their own laws and do what they're supposed to do. But only if you know, because they deal with he who can be deceived, let him. They will lie, cheat, and steal all they can, and it doesn't make any difference. If you ever find yourself in a de facto court or being confronted by de facto, the cops, the sheriff, whoever it happens to be, Charlie knows this better than I do, but the best thing you can do is shut up. If you don't say anything other than anything I say can be used against me, nothing that I say will be used for me, let me speak to your supervisor. When your supervisor gets there, you say, I don't have counsel. I can't speak to you. What are you going to do? You have to get through this situation. They can't deal with you as a man or a woman. They can only deal with the corporate all capital version of your name. But if you say, they look at your license and they say, are you Fred? And you say, yeah, I'm Fred. Is this your address? Is this your residence, Fred? And you say, yes, you just admitted to being a U.S. citizen. Now, how in the hell could you do that? You do that by words have meanings. You got to, if you don't know what something means and you say it and you say the wrong thing. I was talking to an attorney named Catherine, and she says, I don't ever want to go in their court. She's smart. She's an attorney. No longer practices. Dropped her bar card. But she says they'll trick you to the point where they can get jurisdiction over you. And they will. But if you don't say any, go ahead, Charlie. You're muted, girl.
Thank you. I was just going to say that if they ask you the question, do you understand? You do not understand. You do not understand, ever. And you also want to, if they ask your name, they will have to show it to you rather than you saying it or agreeing to anything. And if they show you all caps, which is what they will be representing you by, you look at it and you say, that is not me. It's really important, the capitals.
Absolutely.
So the understand thing means that we're under their law, under their authority, right? So we want to overstand or understand, but never understand. Now they can understand us, though. We will ask them if they understand.
That's
See
right.
how they get that.
When we walk into the court, we need to know that we have the upper hand, that they are of service to us. They are nothing really to us any more than we are to them. They cannot see us. And we really don't recognize them either because it's a corporation. Think about corpse, dead. We're dead to them, and they are a dead entity. They're an institution, and they are a company.
You can't find
So
justice
then when we're
there.
in court, then when we're in court, we need to ask for assistance and counsel, and just keep repeating that over and over again.
What we don't have to ask for it. We simply say, I have no counsel. I have no counsel. And then if we're assigned counsel, then we have to recognize that we are their employer, so that we tell them what to do, and they have to answer the questions that we've asked them to put to the court as a representative of us. And if they don't, then we go back to court and we say, I have no counsel. And if the judge says, well, I gave you counsel, you say, I have no counsel, I fired him. So they cannot hear you unless you have counsel. They'll sign you another one.
So then we're hoping that they eventually just cancel the case.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they have nowhere to go, and it's going to cost them more money to continue arguing with us whether we have counsel or not.
That's right. A lot of the thing when a person goes into a courtroom or a courthouse, it's very unnerving because we have been given over our authority for so long, and they act as if they have the upper hand over us and they own us, control us, know everything, and we know nothing, which really is unfortunately true. But we need to know, walking in, that we are free human being, man, woman, who are the authority in the courtroom, and that they have no control or authority over us. We are living, breathing beings, not dead entities who are on the stock market being used.
I'd like to bring up another thing if we can here. I've talked to several people in the militia, and we need the militia in the de jure. We need them badly. But all that I've talked to are functioning in the de facto. They are concerned with what the state statutes and the federal laws say about them. And they're in an unregulated militia. Well, unregulated to a point, but the Second Amendment only covers well-regulated militias. So if you're looking to be a constitutional militia man or woman, then you have to be in a well-regulated militia. Now, that's in a little bit of opposition to what is in the Oregon Constitution and what the Oregon militia is dealing with, because they think they're in the unregulated militia, meaning different from that which is paid for and bought by Kate Brown. But there's a lot of meaning in words, and you got to make sure which words you're dealing with. And if you're in the unregulated militia in the de facto, you're exposing yourself to their rules and laws, which are a domestic terrorist or a paramilitary or anything that they can describe you as that is other than a Second Amendment well-regulated militiaman or woman. There's a difference. These words have meaning. It's just like person and people. If you use the wrong one, William and I were doing a show the other day, and he knows as well as I do. And in the conversation, he misspoke, and we laugh about it because we all do it all the time. It's hard to learn to say on Oregon after you've been saying, I live in Oregon for 75 years. And then all of a sudden you find out that real men and women, live people, live on the land. And corporate entities, unlive corporate people, the all cap version of your name, you live in Oregon. So persons live in Oregon. What?
In the fiction of state of Oregon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like a holodeck or something. They live inside that fictional entity.
Yes, exactly.
If it goes away, they go away, right? If the power gets shut off, they're gone too.
Yeah.
But we still will be standing on the land.
And
Yeah,
all power is inherent in the people. It's not just words written on paper. That's the truth.
and the
People, the
people,
assembled group.
yeah, and the people are not citizens. We're not U.S. citizens because, unfortunately, the word citizen, just like democracy versus republic, those are important words to be able to define, to know the difference between what our country is. We are not a democracy. We don't want to be a democracy. Mob rule in a democracy. Too many people, too misinformed and easily manipulated and controlled in a democracy. We are a constitutional republic as we were founded in the beginning until it became overtaken by the corporation, a bunch of wealthy bankers who had a scheme, a plan to manipulate and control and really literally take over our nation. And we've been living under that all of these years, all of these decades, believing honestly that we're free, and we are not.
You have to make yourself free. You have to declare it and live it.
That's right.
And it's amazing. I've seen people comprehend, not understand, but comprehend. Wow, there really is a difference. There is de facto and there is de jure. And I understand that I'm in the de jure. I understand. I got it. Then they find out that there's responsibilities. Oh my God. You mean this isn't just a free ride? And they go running back to the de jure where they're taken care of, where they know everything's going to be just exactly as they're told it's going to be. And if they do exactly as they're told, everything's going to be fine. All they have to do is be a good slave and everything's fine. And it is. It's really good when
Until
you take
2020, right?
say what?
Until the year 2020, and then we wake up that that's actually not going to be there when we go back to it. It's going to be
Yes,
completely flipped up and down.
the Georgia Guidestones. I was talking to that guy today at what's the name of it? Oregon Watchdog. And Oregon Watchdog, they're watching the government to make sure the government does the right thing. And I said to him, "Have you ever heard about the Georgia Guidestones?" He said, "No." Really? You've never heard about the Georgia Guidestones? You don't know the plan? No, so I asked him to write it down. I called him back this afternoon and he still hadn't looked it up. I don't know.
Some of the stuff seems so far-fetched that they don't want to even believe it. And if they go look it up and find it to be true, they don't know what to do at that point. So they kind of like close their eyes, right, to seeing the truth. I mean, I've mentioned many times to people about Agenda 21 from the UN and their plans for us about having 25% of the land mass of the United States mapped out as human inhabited land. That's basically all the big cities like Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, LA, Detroit, that kind of stuff. And then the other 25% of land that wraps around those cities that is like a buffer zone where you can go there by permission only. And then the rest of the 50% of the land is no man's land where you'll never get to go there again. And there won't be any reason for you to go from Seattle to Portland or Seattle to LA or anything because everything will be handed to you inside your little tiny city. And that's
Smart
their
city.
plan. It's all written in a book about this big.
Smart city.
But they won't go look it up. Right? And
Well,
they think that I'm crazy when I say this, but it's all written down in the book.
It's also Agenda 2030. So they move the bar. So first it starts, with one plan, and then they amp the plan because there hasn't been any real objection. So they see that people are really compliant with mask wearing. So they think, oh, Well, if they're going to wear masks for 2 weeks, maybe we need to see if they'll go 2 months. Well, they're willing to close their businesses, put up plastic, stand 6 feet apart, walking around each other as if we all are contagious. And now it's been a year that people are willingly wearing masks and closing their businesses and not having more than 4 or 6 people in their home at a time, some having to wear masks because the fear is so great and so marketed. We're in a real world of hurt if we don't start recognizing that this is a really big long-term plan that's been going on against our humankind for centuries. Certainly all in our lifetimes. And I'd like just to say, to add or to cap that off, is that we are in great peril unless we all awaken and take action and take responsibility for our own lives.
I think we're in great peril even after you've woken up and you're taking action and you know what's going on. I think you're still in great peril.
We are.
Yeah.
Yes, but if you get yourself set up in the right
frame of mind,
district,
jurisdiction.
Well, in the right frame of mind, but jurisdiction. If you get yourself set up there, at least you know that when you go out there, that you feel right about it.
Yeah. You're not
instead
a victim.
of being and going, oh, I guess I better sign the contract to put myself in prison for the next 3 years or whatever it is. Right? I'm going to go in there and go, this is not mine, and I'm not signing that document. You can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to voluntarily sign my life away for the next 3 to 5 years or whatever they wish to do to me in that courtroom. It's just not going to happen. I've sat in courtrooms and seen people sign themselves to probation for a year and all that stuff, and they did it on their own. Right after the judge talked to them and said, okay, well, nobody's, well, they would sit there and they go, okay, well, this is the plan. What we're going to do, you're going to have to do this for the next year and be doing UAs and checking in and all this stuff for a year. And when you do that, then we won't do this other thing to you. But then they go, okay, well, you're going to sign this document stating that nobody put any pressure on you to sign this document. Right? When they had 2 choices. Sign the document or go to jail. Now you're writing down on a document claiming that you were never pressured on this, which is a lie. So now you're lying in the court on a document. I've seen it happen.
Yeah. I saw a lady on YouTube the other day, and she says she travels all around and she never wears a mask, and she refuses to sign any paperwork, and she refuses everything, and she still goes where she wants to go and gets there and does what she has to do. And I just marvel at her, the courage that it takes to uphold that and face all of these different. Go ahead.
I think a lot that has to do with is having the cojones to do it is one. The other is to stay in control of your emotions during the event where you might be delayed for 2, 3, 4, 8 hours until they finally just go, okay, we're done with her continuing to repeat, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. Right? So you have to have the courage to sit there and just go, nope, I'm not going to do it. No matter what. And they come back in an hour and here's the document. Nope, I'm not going to do it. Right? So you have to have that and understand that your plans might be delayed a little while. You might miss that flight and have to catch the next one.
I think it's important to remember that we answer to a higher power. It's not the state. It's not the government. It's not our county, a judge, a policeman, any of that. If stopped in traffic, and those laws, those citations, unless we truly intentionally injured someone, intentionally harmed them in any physical way, they don't hold water. We answer to a higher power.
Yes, unalienable rights granted by our Creator.
Absolutely.
They
At
come
birth.
from God.
Yep.
Yes.
Atheists don't have a God, therefore they have no rights in the United States of America on the land. They can only have 14th Amendment privileges. That's all they're entitled to.
And government does not give us our rights.
Absolutely correct. I want
Only
to
to their slaves, right?
say
The
again.
14th Amendment, or only to the 14th Amendment slaves did they give them rights,
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
not me.
But if you don't demand your rights, when I was a kid, I heard a lot about you have to fight for your rights. And that went away. You don't hear people saying that anymore. Children aren't taught that anymore.
Compliance.
They're taught completely different.
Yep,
Mhm.
get in your single file line.
I want to make a couple points here, and then I'd like to talk about them.
Okay.
I know a guy that works for the U.S. Department of Justice. He tries cases for tax law. People claim to be people, and the facts prove them to be persons. Just like a tranny that claims to be a female, but the facts prove otherwise. And the facts count. If you don't do the paperwork and you can't prove what you say, then they will use the presumptions in law. And there's a good point. Look up the 12 presumptions in law. You just type in DuckDuckGo, the 12 presumptions in law, and you will be amazed what you agree to if you hire an attorney or let one be given to you as counsel.
Or be silent.
Don't do it. Do not accept an attorney for counsel ever. But you can't convince people that have gotten in trouble, like a First Amendment auditor. You see them on YouTube all the time confronting cops and standing up for their First Amendment right to photograph in public and all of that, and they're wearing a mask while they're standing up for their First Amendment right to photograph in public. They give away their Fourth Amendment. Now, what the hell kind of, it's just ridiculous. And they think they're doing a really slick job. And I key in the comments to them. How can you be out there protecting your First Amendment and wear a mask and give away the Fourth Amendment? I don't understand your arithmetic. I just don't get it.
Also, I think the thing that's important to note is that in common law form, which is the de jure, as opposed to de facto, we're not imposing, we the people are not imposing anything on anyone. We are simply asking people to declare their sovereignty, man and woman on the land, and to ask, with the help of our higher power, our Creator, to assist us in establishing and taking responsibility for our unalienable rights. And those include all of the things that are enumerated in the Bill of Rights. And we have to get back to that. We have to learn what those are, and we have to hold firm to them. And if we understand that, if we understand it, that we are the people who are going to literally save our country by virtue of knowing who we are and what our government has been doing irrespective of the people. And they can have all the platitudes and political statements they want. I read them from Jeff Merkley. I get his newsletter. I read them from Ron Wyden. I get his newsletter, and they have all the right words. They're working for the people. They're trying to get things back to, after whatever. It is really important for us to recognize that those are platitudes. They're political statements, and they use all the right words. Nancy Pelosi even said it. It's a republic if you can keep it. Well, that's a really nice statement, but does she know the difference between a republic and a democracy? No. She acts like a Democrat in a democracy, and it is not what we want. It's not going to work for us. It's not going to work.
They always preach democracy, right? But I know all the studies I've seen is that democracies, every single time, the minority loses.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Democrats want to stand up or claim that they're standing up for the minorities, but democracy in itself is in opposition to minorities.
Correct. The deal with democracies is capitalism always buys the democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Supreme Court said, why, of course, a political action committee can gather as much money as it wants and spend it however they want and buy an election because they're a 14th Amendment person. They're a corporation. They have all the rights also.
I think it's important to be able to recognize, too, that when money is involved in our politics the way it is, and there's so much corruption, as we all know, people who aren't even involved in what we're doing, it's really important for us to recognize that our legislators are supposed to be public servants. And I don't even know of anyone who has a shred of that in them, except maybe 5 I could name, not just here on Oregon. I can't name one, though there might be a couple. But people it seems like they hang on to their position not only for power, but that there's a real money stream that goes on along with it, and there should be limitations of their, quote, service to the people.
A guy the other day asked a question that I thought was quite good. He said, how did Nancy Pelosi and Bernie become multimillionaires on the salary that we pay them in Congress?
Mm-hmm.
Really a good question. Here's something that I want to read. This is Article 1, Section 8. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, excises, and to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. That is in D.C. And all the duties, imposts, exercises to be uniform throughout the United States. That's only in D.C. And to make rules for the government and regulations for the land and naval forces. Nowhere does it say Oregon in that. Nowhere in there does it say Ron Vroman in that.
Nowhere does it say vaccines in that.
Yes.
Or masks or drug regulation or food regulation. None of that's in there.
Or fluoride in the water. How about that one?
Right?
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. The other day I seen that whole Bernie Sanders thing, right? I call them Bernie lovers, but they have these, usually they're Subarus or Priuses or something. They have a whole bunch of stickers all the very back end of the car, right? Political stickers and all that stuff, and Bernie and all that stuff, right? And then they have a sticker on there that was in opposition to wealthy or millionaires or billionaires. So they don't even know what they're talking about in their stickers.
Yes.
Enough research before they planted that sticker on the back to even make a stance.
Well, what I've noticed is that I don't see so many bumper stickers anymore because the masks are the new bumper sticker. You know, pretty
Yeah,
much
that's an IQ test.
where people are when you see who the mask wearers are and who they're not, and where they get their information.
Yep.
Just as a small aside, Charlie and I, a long time ago, got in trouble at the Beaverton post office because we wouldn't wear a mask and they threw us out and so on and so forth. And we went round and round, and pretty soon they apologized and sent an email and said everything's going to be okay and you don't have to wear a mask. And that took one day. And so then we went back, and we've gone back many, many times since. They have a new temporary postmaster there, and some of the supervisors got a little salty with us one day. But Charlie and I went back, what was it, day before yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Or yesterday?
Yes. I don't remember. Yeah, this week.
Yeah, we went back, and they were very nice to us, extremely polite, did everything. We made a mistake, and they just said, no problem, and go ahead and fix your mistake. And when everything gets ready, we'll take care of you. And they did, and everything was fine, except for one old lady in the lobby that saw us not wearing a mask, and she decided to get indignant. What did she say? Something about
you're exercising your rights, huh?
Yes.
Your freedom.
You're exercising your freedom. And I thought, yeah, that's right, exactly. Then she went on to tell us that we were endangering everybody else's life.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's marketing. That's marketing.
I mean, it's healthy to exercise your rights.
It's healthy for everyone.
Yeah, right. I mean, I couldn't imagine wearing a mask all the time like that. That's ridiculous.
It's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Charlie's right, though.
What?
When you walk down the street or you drive down the street and you see them wearing a mask, you know who they are. When you go to a place where you don't have to wear a mask and they're walking their dog wearing a mask out in the open air where there is no possibility of anything, and they're still wearing their mask. They are so far into the de facto, they can't even comprehend that they're slaves.
Well, and instead of even thinking of it as a law form, you can think of it as a particular reality. So, rather than using the words de jure and de facto, I really see it as two different realities. There's the reality of fear, and there's a reality of freedom to move freely. And moving freely, my freedom to move freely is being impinged on by people out of their fear. And it's really unfortunate that it creates. I don't like to go out into that. It's like a Twilight Zone reality, and I feel a little anxious because I know that there is all this judgment and opinion and attitude that comes along with people who wear masks, and that's on them. I'm not endangering them. They feel endangered, but I know enough to know what this is all about, and it's been a long-term plan. It's been very marketed, and it was a rollout. When I first saw the whole thing, the big COVID orb that's bigger than life, which is the virus.
And
how they have that, and they have it superimposed or in the background on every single representation they ever do or talk they ever give about COVID, because they want to make it visible. And when they can't put it on the screen for people to see, then you go out into the public and you see the mask. So they've made it very readily available to never forget that there's this horrible thing that's happening to humanity, and we must protect ourselves. And if we're kind, we won't kill each other by wearing a mask.
And that's what they've done. The government grabbed us, especially here in Oregon. They grabbed us and took control of us and locked us down. And they'll eventually probably let go of us. But the problem is that the people that they brainwashed the whole time are going to actually be in control of us by putting pressure on us. Why are you trying to kill my grandma? Did you see all the new billboards that went up through the city where now they're using, just standard people, Black, Asian, women, with masks on, and just a little tiny statement down at the bottom, like wear your mask or something, right? So now it used to be a generic sign that said, don't kill us without wearing or don't wear your mask so you don't kill us or something. Now it's actually becoming personal. So they're going to try to put pressure on us by just everybody around us instead of the government.
Yeah. Well, tell on your neighbor, have your kids tell on the parents. It's so unfortunate. And until people wake up and realize this is a long-term standard way of controlling people, we don't need to be controlled. Take our freedom, take our independence, and take responsibility for the amazing human beings we are, and for the immune system, God-given immune system that is magnificent and unbelievably magical. And the responsibility of that is not only recognizing it, but eating and doing the proper things that nourish that God-given gift of the immune system. That's all we need.
Yeah, give your body the right conditions to live in, just like your plant. Give it the right amount of light, the right amount of water, the right amount of fertilizer, and it flourishes. But if you cut those things down or change the ratio of nutrients in the soil, it will die, or the leaves will start to curl up. And we're the same way. And people don't actually understand that. They actually take more care of their plants than their actual own bodies.
Or cars.
Of course, too. And we got to the point now that people won't even work on their car. They'll send them to the shop, hoping that person will be honest enough to fix it properly without overcharging them. And that's what we did with our bodies. We take ourselves to that shop, the hospital or doctor's office, and hope that they don't overcharge or kill us. And I'm done with that myself. I will depend on my own self in doing research. And it takes time and energy to actually do that. But I will be healthier and probably live longer for it versus the people that are on pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, I don't think people go to the doctor's office thinking they'll kill us. I think they go thinking they'll heal us, and that's not their job. I mean, doctors aren't healers.
Nope, they are not.
Anyway, I think
the body will heal itself given the right conditions.
That's right. Well, I think we've gone on quite a good long while. I'd like to recommend that we wrap it up, and hope that people have learned something positive from this exposure. And I know we went beyond what we were beginning to do as a topic, but some of it may be offensive to people. I'm sure to some people it's very offensive, but you know what? We have the right to say what we have, what we are concerned about. And we have the right to have discussions, and we mean no malice, no harm. These are just
no division.
People talking, and everyone should be able to have an opinion in a free nation.
Agreed.
Absolutely. All right. So if you're out there and you're from another state, talk to us. We'll tell you how to do this in your state, or at least guide you that direction. Like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Go to our Facebook, our website, and join us in any way you possibly can. And don't be offended.
Yeah, no offense intended whatsoever. Important
Thank
to
you,
love.
guys.
Yeah, It's important to love and feel no division but unity. We're all one big heart, one big family. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
We close with love, peace, harmony, and a prayer.
Absolutely. Please, God.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. Then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up. And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, "Just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me." And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.